Back at it again. A lot of fingers. Can't do 11. So, we made it with Caruana all the way to the point to where Magnus no longer has any bullets with white. And the final game of the match, of this all draw, 11 straight draws match, will be happening on the 26th, 2 days after this is recorded and posted. So, I'm kind of excited. And this is one of those situations that I really sincerely hope this is taken as a must-win situation for Caruana. Because, in my opinion, his back is completely against the wall. Magnus outclasses him when it comes to rapid chess, and especially blitz. So, this is a must-win scenario. And I'm not quite sure, when looking at the regulations, why it would be agreed upon that a player should have white both in the first game of the match and the last game of the match. That seems kind of messed up to me. I think you should get one or the other, just my opinion. And I would definitely want the final white and the final say. Let's go ahead and get started. And we're looking at another Petroff. And no more knight d3 silly innovation. And I mean, the first time we saw the Petroff in the match was game 6, and you can check out that video for all the recommendations on how I said they should spice up this position, or rather how Magnus with white should spice up the position. You know what? Let's look at this from our boys' perspective. We've been doing it the entire time. We're going to keep doing it. So, knight takes e4, and one of the suggestions that I had, clearly the camp was listening, I said knight c3 is interesting. And these men have played a few Petroffs against each other. Here, before moving on to the main game, d3 was played here in a previous game in the Grinky Chess Classic from last year. And you can tell it's kind of a nothing position immediately. Seems like a exchange French pawn structure. Very straightforward. The game ended up being drawn. And also from this position, Magnus had played queen e2. And you don't want to fall into, any silliness here. And after knight c3, which wouldn't be my first choice. I've always felt that bishop g5 was the best move here. This is clearly just another example of them just playing a solid position. And, this is another game that this was played in Tata Steel of this year and was a pretty straightforward draw as well, as can be seen from the pawn structure and lack of enthusiasm. So, knight c3, grab, bishop e7, and white's going to go for this queenside castles and aggressive structure. And as I said in the Game 6 video, this is what I recommend for white to play against the Petroff to my students. And the typical move here for black is to play knight e5. And what black's hoping for is this type of mass liquidation to where what's resulted, this is the dream. White has the only deficiency in the position, which is the extra c-pawn. Black's pawn structure is perfect. We have equal pieces. This is the type of situation where the better player is going to win this type of game, with the lion's share of games being drawn. And, this is why Caruana is single-handedly reviving this opening, is playing this type of stuff. So clearly, when you're playing in this position, and Caruana's camp, when they were preparing before the match, they knew that undoubtedly this is going to be played at some point. So, knight f6, a very rare move in the position, and one that is pretty good. So, Magnus, I think, was probably aware of this move, like many of the top players are, but didn't play, in my opinion, the most critical continuation. I really liked a simple idea with h3, just stopping knight g4, and after, say, c6, king b1, queen a5, idea very similar to the main game. And then after knight d4, you can start an attack with g4. This would have been an approach that I think would have been a lot more aggressive and could have essayed a more interesting position for the players. But bishop d3 was played, and even though it looks really awkward because it creates such a weakness on d6, c5 is an excellent move. And clearly this is Caruana's preparation. This position had been reached before between Karyakin and Hari Krishna in the Gashima Memorial in 2016. Bishop g5 was played, and there was this nastiness going on in the position. I mean, this is just dirty. Like, if this position was reached on the board, I mean, I can't imagine that this is prep. This is probably Karyakin inspiration. And I mean, the game goes for a while here, but from the imbalances, it's pretty easy to see how white is much better, especially with the outside h-pawn there. Typically, the knight and bishop are better than the rook in these situations, but Karyakin went on to win easily. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and thumb through the rest of the game quickly to show you the excellent technique. Just methodically uses his extra pawns, but he's not in a hurry to make anything happen. Just slow and steady wins a race. And that's it. That's all you gotta do. And that's a lot of pawns still. So the knight and bishop, they can be annoying, but they definitely can't win. And that was the end of the game. I'm assuming because the a-pawn's gonna become a lady pretty quickly here. So going back to the main game after bishop e6, king b1 was played, queen a5, and here, at this point, I mean, c4 is the best move in the position, but without queens, it's a moral victory for black, and this basically says, let's go to the next game. Queens are done, no big attack, GG. So that was a nice idea by Magnus to net the bishop pair, but Fabiano gets it right back, and now we're in a bishop of opposite color ending, and I'm going to glaze through this pretty quickly to get to the point of instruction, because we get this solid, symmetrical pawn structure, bishop of opposite color endgame. And if you're not aware, bishop of opposite color endgames, pure, meaning only the bishops, are extremely drawish. It's very difficult, even with an extra pawn, to win. Sometimes it's difficult with two extra pawns, as I've had in my own personal games. So Caruana drops a pawn here, but I mean, players of this caliber know that this is so dead drawn. And Magnus goes for really the only trick in the position. So he gets the c-pawn. This ties down the king or the bishop to always be worried about the c-pawn. So black's not going to have the opportunity to attack anything. So white will have a free hand with his king, the better of the two pieces left to attack with, to try to make some headway. And the only way to try to make any headway in the position is to use the kingside pawns in some way over here to try to dislodge the bishop. That's it. So Magnus creates a situation with g4, an excellent in-game move, to be able to have the potential to play f4, f5. If black would ever take, the h-pawn is going to be a runner, and with two passed pawns, that's going to be enough. So, understanding this idea, Caruana very patiently waits, because all you can do is just chill in the position. And a lot of people, as soon as f5 would come, they would have a knee-jerk reaction and freak out. And this is very calm and coolly calculated. Pause the video and see if you can figure it out. All right. Bishop b1. Because if takes on g6 with a pawn, we take back with a pawn, no passer. That's the main objective. Do not allow the h-pawn to become a passer. If king takes, bishop takes. So very important here. Bishop f2, a solid move, because if bishop takes pawn here, you actually have h5, and if pawn takes, you lose your bishop. So that being the case, this is another calm, calculated move, and with it, the draw was agreed. So again, try to pause your video, see if you can find it. Bishop c2. Because if king takes f7, bishop takes f5, and we essentially transpose to the previous line that we were discussing, and this is it. That was the only trick Magnus could play for. On to the final. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Even brought the minion shirt today. Yay, yay.